Well, hello everyone. Welcome back to the channel. Thanks for stopping by. Today we're going to be taking a listen to The Lots from Fontaines D.C. They're an Irish post-punk band. I found them during the pandemic. That's when I discovered their music. I don't know how. I think I was just on Apple Music and just came across their album, Doggerel. Now, of course, from what you can gather from the title, I listened to the song quite a bit during the pandemic. It's an interesting song because it's not necessarily the happiest nor the saddest song. It's kind of maybe somewhere in the middle, although on the surface you can definitely think it's very depressing. Sometimes those are the best songs. Sometimes they can be the most comforting songs. But what we're going to do here is listen to the song and talk about it. Make sure to give this video a like if you like, and subscribe to the channel if you want to see more content like this. Oh yeah. Oh wow. It's got a very, sounds like The Cure, right? Sounds a little bit like Joy Division, too. Especially that bass. The guitar melody there. Very trance-like, very trance-like.
Lots on the corner, she ain't never coming down. Lots on the corner, she ain't never coming down. Lily for the beggar, poison for the clown. Lots on the corner, she ain't never coming down. Lots on the corner, she ain't never coming down. Lily for the beggar, poison for the clown. Lots on the corner, there ain't nothing here to see. Lots on the corner, there ain't nothing here for me. Sorry in the morning for the bastard I will be at all.
Very, very pretty song, as you can hear, and kind of a rap delivery-ish, spoken word, I guess, delivery for the vocals, right? Very interesting.
Looking for a few coins, what you want, son? Major for the evening or a presidential run. Devil is a morning and a miser with a gun. Looking for a few coins, what you want, son?
Getting more intensity here.
Major for the evening or a presidential run. Lots on the corner, she ain't ever coming down. Lots on the corner, she ain't ever coming down. Lily for the beggar, and poison for the clown. Lots on the corner, there ain't nothing here to see. Lots on the corner, there ain't nothing here for me. Sorry in the morning for the bastard I will be. Death is falling down on your work routine, and it's falling even harder on your churches and your queens. Don't be falling hard on the tenement scene. Death is falling down on your work routine, and it's falling even harder on your churches and your queens. Don't be falling hard on the tenement scene.
Wow. I gotta love the intensity, man, that this song builds, right? The speed of the percussion picks up, the vocal execution gets a little bit louder, and then you have this kind of weird, almost psychedelic little interlude here. And then it gets even better, trust me. I love this break in the song. It's fantastic to what comes next. Love that, just that dry cymbal there. Oh yeah. don't know what that is. It's like a synthesizer, maybe? I'm not sure. Dun, 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 dun. Wow. That is so gorgeous. So absolutely gorgeous. I love how it just kind of fades out. It just fades into oblivion, right? It fades into eternity. I love the vocal delivery of the vocalist. It's a very intentional, very intense, very powerful delivery. There's really little to no singing at all, of course. It's a lot of the spoken word rapping type of delivery. And I think just the way that he builds it, you would think that a song that has, just words, and obviously, we know rap music and hip hop music can be very powerful, right? Even with no singing in the verses or anything like that. But I think in this case too, it's not your like stereotypical, rapping, it's just kind of more poetic, kind of speaking. And the fact that he's able to maintain a certain amount of engagement and intensity and a build-up and dynamic, and it, keeps the song moving and it keeps the song engaging. The fact that he's able to do that with just kind of, saying the words of the song is pretty cool. And to a certain extent, I'm American, of course, so to a certain extent, the accent can be a little, fascinating. And so that can certainly add to the engagement of the song, right? I'm not going to lie to you. The music is really kind of it's the main act, right, of the song. When you're listening to it, of course, obviously, if you pay attention to the lyrics, that can be a whole separate part that you're really interested in, and we'll definitely get to that. But I'm a very musical person. I often think about the music and focus on the music way before the lyrics. Sometimes I don't even pay attention to the lyrics of the song. And this song captured me with its music. I mean, it just becomes trance-like. It becomes transcendental. The very third act of the song, it's just kind of this loopish, kind of constant psychedelic trip in a way. I mean, it's just, it feels like I'm floating. I'm slowly, floating through air, just like traveling through space, I don't know, just something like that, right? Something that makes you feel like you are just being transported elsewhere, where you're not here, or you're just going off into La La Land, I guess. And that's sort of a reference to the lyrics of the song, right? When there's a part where he just goes like, la, 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 la. The bass tone in the song, the melody of the bass, the guitar, dun, 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 dun. Just absolutely gorgeous. It's just very melancholic song, very melancholic. And, just right from the beginning, I'm going to sound like a broken record, but it's just, it already starts off kind of very trance-like, this repetition to it makes it, kind of a psychedelic trip to me, a very introspective trip of a song. When it comes to how the song impacted me, it really resonated with me because the song doesn't sound very happy, right? It doesn't sound very ultimately depressing either, but there's this weird in-between where the song is just very melancholic, right? And during the pandemic, obviously this could be a very traumatic time. It was for a lot of people. But I think at its heart, for me, it was a period of uncertainty, which in many ways can be its own hell, right? And at the time, I was laid off, and this isn't a very sad story or anything. I mean, it could have been, it could have been much worse. Thank God it wasn't. But definitely not anywhere near what other people experienced, and I'm grateful for that. But I did get laid off. I was using my savings to kind of get by. I was living with my family, but thank God my family were able to find. They also didn't have jobs at the time, but thank God they were able to find something to do to get money at the time. and I would occasionally help my mom. We were doing like office cleaning or something. But for a good period, I was just kind of, I mean, I didn't go to work. I mean, the work that my family was doing that I helped with, it wasn't full time or anything like that. So there was a lot of introspective time. There was a lot of, reflection time. There was a lot of time of doing nothing. During this time, I did pick up my YouTube channel. I started it. So there's that positive thing that came out of that time, as did a lot of people. But mainly for me, that time was very, very introspective. It was a time of desperate uncertainty, which is not good. I mean, you didn't know whether things were going to go back to normal. You just did not know. Depending on which state you were in America, of course, and in the world, right? You didn't know. I mean, some places were fully closed for way longer. Some places opened up way earlier. In my case, I think it was longer than a place like Florida, for example. We were definitely locked down for way longer than that. And then there was a period where it sucked because there was a period where we were open, everything kind of open, and then we had to close back down. It was just God. It felt like just an awful relationship. It was just terrible, and you just didn't know. I truly did, to a certain point, was like, when is this going to end? I didn't know, when are we going to get our lives back? And that was the worst part about it. And I loved all the time alone that you had, right? I mean, it allowed me to be much more creative, allowed me to have more discipline with my creative endeavors. But financially, of course, it was tough. Thank God I was able to get back to work, but man, it was a tough period. And I mean, my family, at the time, and me to a certain extent, I mean, we're not, we're not rich or anything. I think we're slightly below middle class even. I mean, it's a very paycheck to paycheck type of life. And it was concerning, and definitely better off than a lot of other people, of course, and a lot of other families. But still, it's that, economic uncertainty with livelihood uncertainty. I mean, my mother was, she's definitely older, way older than the average mother that a 20 whatever 2-3-year-old should have. And I was worried a little bit about her, right, and her getting the virus at some point. But there's that. But for me, it was just this combination of, a lot of free time, right, recreation, in my room, and whenever you would drive, the streets would be fairly empty. It would be a very isolated time. But in this period, I also found my girlfriend, the love of my life. But again, it was also with that uncertainty, financially, socially, culturally, nationally. You know what I mean? Just like, I don't know where things are going to be. And it was truly the beginning as well of my, existential crisis that I'm currently undergoing now. Just the crisis of identity, the crisis of my purpose, and whether I'm enjoying my life and happiness and all of that, right? And so in the midst of all that, suffice to say, we arrive at this song. This song I listened to quite a bit when I was helping my mom clean. I would put it on repeat, and the rest of the album as well, but the song is my favorite from that album. And it was just a perfect song, because again, much like my experience during that time, it wasn't entirely negative, but it wasn't entirely positive, and it was this weird in between. This song is that, right? Because you can see how this song is sad, but you can also see how this song, it might not necessarily have optimism or hope, but the music is comforting, and it's not sad, it's got groove in there. It's got a good beat in there. You can dance to it even. So there is some hope and optimism there, to a certain extent, even though it's not overt, or it's not using the happiest chords of all time. And so it was just a very perfectly melancholic song that I could grab onto. And the fact that, the lyrics were just kind of very poetic and kind of, abstract to a certain extent, just kind of very universal in many ways. I mean, universal in the sense that, if you look at the lyrics, it can be very specific. But to me at the time, if we look at the lyrics, we have lots on the corner, she ain't ever coming down. That's a very specific line that references a pub, a restaurant in Dublin, Ireland. And from what I read, this is where the band used to practice a lot. It's also not in the best area in Dublin. The song references drug addiction. It references poverty and downtroddenness. That sort of thing. And so that's going around this neighborhood where this pub is. And so there's all that, right, to unpack. But so the song is very specific in that sense. But to me, I focus on words like ain't ever coming down. I focus on words like beggar and poison for the clown. Sorry in the morning for the bastard I will be. Devil is the morning and a miser with a gun. Looking for a few coins. What you want, son? Looking for a few coins. You got the beggar and somewhere in there. There it is, right? Lily for the beggar and poison for the clown. A lot of these references to economic strain, to poverty. And I was able to, again, I wasn't, thank God, in a situation where I was poor or living in the streets or anything like that. But it is something that I do think about. And it was something that I had thought about at the time. And, those are the words that I caught on to, right? And then you couple it with the music and it can be very therapeutic and cathartic. And the repetition too of the song, over and over again, lots on the corner, she ain't never coming down, dun, dun, no, 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 no. Even the way that he says it is very repetitious. Not only just the words that he's saying, and that I think also, and then also the song is very repetitious, right? The bass line, the percussion, it's very trance-like I've mentioned. All of that repetition, I think, was a perfect metaphor to my life. Every day seemed like the same day. It's that thing where you're on vacation for a week and after a while you're like, I should probably go back to work, because it's a little monotonous, it becomes kind of boring to a certain extent. And so every day was kind of the same, it had the same sort of cycle, unless you were an essential worker, so I think that repetition definitely connected with me, because of that time. But, a few lyrics that I really love from the song, obviously, lots on the corner, she ain't ever coming down. I think that, means this pub, this restaurant, lots, that's on the corner, it's going to be there forever. It's been here for a long time. It's iconic. It's never going to come down, kind of setting the scene, which is really cool. Lily for the beggar and poison for the clown. Obviously I think this could mean, referencing someone who's asking for money, a homeless person, but also poison for the clown. Poison, I think, being the drug, the drug use that's going around this area. And this line right here is pretty incredible. Very beautifully poetic. Devil is the morning and a miser with a gun. That's so interesting. I love the contradiction there. Devil is the morning. You usually associate mornings with something hopeful, something optimistic, right? And so pairing it with the word devil is pretty not optimistic. And then you have miser with a gun, which is just a terrible contradiction, because a miser being someone who's very restrictive with their money, doesn't like to share a lot. And so it's kind of funny, having a miser point a gun at you, you know what I mean, or have a gun. I mean, it kind of makes sense. They're very protective, but also at the same time, the gun can be an offensive thing. And so it's like they're very worried about their own self, while at the same time, they may point the gun at you and ask you for money, so that's very interesting. And obviously this can go into a whole other, this is where I'm saying is this is part of the universality of the song, where like, this could mean anything, this could mean, the government, doing this to you. It could mean, a local government doing this to you. Your family, I don't know. I mean, there's a lot of context that you could put this in, but the context is kind of the same, right? It's oppression, it's depression, and it sucks, right? And I think things like this really just connected with me. What you want, son. I love the way he says "what you want, son" in the song. It's very satisfying. If we keep going down, this is where, right before he goes into the kind of dreamlike sequence in the song, death is falling down on your work routine, and it's falling even harder on your churches and your queens. Wow. That's I don't know. That's pretty significant. I mean, I don't know. I truly don't know what this could mean. It's kind of, again, very universal, very abstract. It could mean whatever you want to mean. I mean, saying something like death is falling down on your work routine. I mean, that could, say that, there is no jobs, you're unemployed, or work sucks, that sort of thing, right? And it's falling even harder on your churches and your queens. I think that's maybe that could be a statement to kind of criticism to the churches, the people in power, and also the queens, right? Also the people in power, right? From a political level and a governmental level. Being that this is a post-punk alternative rock band, right? Like, it's not surprising lyrics like this, right? This is what this genre is for the criticism of the rich and the wealthy and the powerful, right? So it's classic, right? You got to have a line in there criticizing the government and people in power. And obviously at the time, even when we think about it from my context, right, or our context with the pandemic, that certainly happened, right? And it's happening now, and it will always be relevant. I think "Don't Be Falling Hard" on the tenement scene. I don't know what that can mean, but obviously he's referencing probably the projects, areas where there's a lot of people who are borderline homeless, that is, living in these tenements. And the repetition, death is falling down in your work routine, and then again, la 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 la, right? I think also the work routine line is very interesting. A work routine is also can be related to the monotonous and to the repetitious nature of the song, right? And the whole la 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 la, right? I think it was very intentional, sort of the repetitious nature of the song with the lyrics, just kind of this, merry-go-round of suffering, where it's just kind of the cycle. And it's also, I guess, very similar to the cycle of poverty. People talk about that. People talk about the cycle of crime, the cycle of, usually a lot of these bad neighborhoods, right? Bad neighborhoods where there's a lot of crime, there's a lot of drugs. Oftentimes, these are neighborhoods that perpetuate, the factors in them perpetuate that behavior. You know what I mean? Where there is drug use, where there is crime, you get, the family members get affected. Family members of people who commit those crimes get affected, and then they might turn to a life of crime as well, right? Where the father, goes to jail and the kids, have to deal with that. And so then they might turn to that same life, because they don't have a father, right? And then that cycle begins again. if you're poor, it's hard to get out of poverty, and many times it's this cycle that you can never get out of. It's hard to get out of addiction, right? It feels like you're in quicksand, for all these things, if you're poor, you barely can, you're worried about eating. You're worried about surviving. You're not worried about getting an education. Getting an education is expensive. And if you're poor, you can't get an education. Getting an education is how you can get out of poverty. But if you're poor and you're homeless, you're a drug addict, an education is not going to do much for you because you can't get one. You know what I mean? And so it's a lot of these behaviors and a lot of these environmental factors, right, perpetuate, and they create this cycle, this vicious cycle. And I think the song is obviously pointing to that with its repetitious nature and in the lyrics, of course. And so all this to say, that verse is very depressing. And then what follows, which is this very dreamlike, transcendental part of the song, I think is very beautiful. And the marriage of something, kind of very depressing with the music being so beautiful and just beautifully depressing, right, is just very cathartic. And it's a song that I can connect many emotions and many contexts to, but I will always remember it with that context, with that pandemic environment context, because that's when I discovered it, and it provided a form of comfort. And I'm sure I'm going to continue listening to this song, and my connection to it will have many different tethers. But those are my thoughts on The Lots by Fontaines D.C. Please let me know in the comment section below if you've listened to this song before. If you've never listened to it before, do you like it? Do you see yourself listening to this band? Or just let me know what you think of the song, the lyrics, the meaning, the music. Sound off in the comment section below. Also, feel free to disagree with me. Give this video a like if you like, dislike it if you didn't. Subscribe to the channel if you enjoy this content. You want to see more stuff like this. Share with your friends. If it's your birthday, happy birthday to you, you beautiful creature. But I think that's it for me. You all take care, stay safe, and until next time, I love you.